special person, and she does a very, very special and important job. I want you to meet Fatima Scipio. She's an author, speaker, and advocate for children's literacy and self empowerment. She's the author of I Love Everything About Me. I like that. A heartwarming book that inspires children to embrace self love, confidence, and positivity, dedicated to fostering a love for reading among young learners. Fatima leads impactful literacy campaigns supporting K-2 students. Uh, Beyond writing, she's an entrepreneur, nonprofit manager, and mentor committed to uplifting communities through education and empowerment. With her engaging storytelling and motivational approach, Fatima continues to inspire children and parents alike to celebrate individuality and culture, a strong sense of self worth. Welcome to the set, Fatima.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. I'm excited to have you. I'm sure when our panel join, they will enjoy what you're uh, talking about. Let's see. I know that. Let's see. Tanisha Holmes, she's one of our panelists. She's trying to join in. She says she got a brand new computer. I'm sure she'll navigate through that. All right. But anyway, well, let's start off with you. Let's talk about your book. But before that, I want to tell us a little bit about your educational background.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So I grew up in the Bronx, New York. I am a Bronx girl through and through. And so I have to shout out the Knicks. I believe they're playing tonight. So go Knicks. I went to Virginia State University, HBCU, yes, to study
Yes.
sociology. Yeah. And once I graduated from Virginia State, I went on to Hunter College in New York City to get my master's in nonprofit management focused on youth development. And so I am constantly working because I believe that learning is a lifelong process. So although I have those degrees, I am constantly taking courses online to better myself and to stay in touch with what's happening in our communities.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Oh, I see Tiffany. Hey, Tiffany, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Good
Hello.
evening.
Good evening.
Okay. I want you to meet Fatima Scipio. And I think you probably saw the bio. She has a brand new book out, and I believe it. I like everything about me. Is that correct, Fatima?
I love everything about me.
I like that even better. I
Yeah,
love
you have to stress the
everything.
love part.
That's
Awesome.
exactly right. Absolutely. And so we were talking about her background and what she do, what she does, and what I want to do. What inspired you to write this book?
Well, great question. So I have a niece. Her name is Zyla McCarter. She is the only girl of five grandsons of my parents. And so she had this little voice that just would not stop playing over and over in my head. And one night I was sleeping, I just woke up with this desire to write. I love poetry. So I don't know if you've all had the opportunity to read the book, but it's a rhyming scheme to it. And so I had her voice in my head and I wrote the book. And I, usually I have four books. So this is my first children's book. And
Mhm.
something told me, reach out, try to get it published through a traditional publishing house, because my other books are self-published. And I would write letters because you need a literary agent in order to get into these spaces. So I wrote letters and, just, almost like begging people to take me on as a client. And finally, God sent, and I'm a believer. So if it's okay, just kind of tell you that God sent this agent to me, and she loved my book. She loved the rhyming scheme. She loved the theme and the empowering message that it represented. And she said, "I love your book, and I want to sell it for you." And so
Wow.
she did. So she was able to. And I have to tell you, I had probably hundreds of rejection letters, it felt like, because people were closed. They didn't want to take on another project. But she found She found a publishing house, a small imprint that was just starting, and it was an all women's publishing house. And they loved the book. They came to okay, they came up to New York City to meet me, and long story short, they published my book, and it's been out for about 2 years. But I feel like every year it kind of renews itself because someone else learns about it and they spread the word, and they're
Mhm.
asking me to come speak at their schools to their little people. And I just love it. So, yes, and long story short, my niece inspired me to write this book that is now empowering young people, little people everywhere.
Oh,
Awesome.
outstanding. Tiffany?
Wow. This is, it must be a God sent. This conversation. We don't like to say interviews, we say conversations.
Yes, sir.
Because I was just thinking about writing a book, honestly.
Mm,
I got my degree in digital filmmaking, and a lot of people's like, have you written your book yet? Have you written your book yet? And I'm like, no. So I'm like, in a sense, I too am a believer as well. And I'm like, this is kind of confirmation, except for I don't have any kids, but I have
mhm,
a dog. And
mhm.
so I want to do something about my dog. So I'm getting like really inspired, like live on the spot. Um, so I'm just taking this all in right now as confirmation. I guess one of the questions that I have for you is, have you ever in the past like saw yourself doing this, or did you have your mind set on doing something else?
Okay, so yes and no. So I as I said, I love poetry and I grew up in the Bronx. And so I originally wanted to be a rapper. I wanted to rap. Bronx is the place where hip hop began. And believe it or not, I had an aunt who would take me to different neighborhoods to rap and bang on cars and boo bat, all that fun stuff. So I always had a love of poetry. And then my parents said, absolutely not. You are not going to become a rapper. You will go to college. You will get your education. So that
Right.
career went down the drain. But when I graduated from Virginia State University, I was called to teach. And so I went to a school, it was a magnet school called MS 254. And at this school, a part of the programming, the curriculum was to help students with put together what they called a writer's notebook at the time, because I'm talking, this is over 20 something years ago.
Mm,
Yeah, 20 something years ago. Can you believe that? I can't believe it as I say it. But yes.
mhm,
And I started to write stories in that writer's note. So I was inspired to write even as an educator. And
mhm,
so I didn't know that I was writing a book at the time when I started writing until years down the road. After I left teaching, I realized as an educator, there were some people who didn't know how to teach people of color or
mhm,
working with young people from the inner city. And so
mhm,
I said, I need to write a book about how to work with young people in the Bronx specifically. I was just thinking. And so my first book was called First Aid for First Year Teachers.
oh,
And that's how my writing career actually started. That's how it started, me wanting to empower other people to do what I was doing in the classroom. And so now, no, I'm not a rapper, but now I get to use those rapping skills
right.
through my writing.
Awesome. Awesome. How long did it take for you to write your stories?
Okay. I would say for my children's book, that was overnight. It was one shot. Just I dreamt about it. Uh, God woke me up in the middle of the night. Go write it down. I wrote it down. That was it. But for the other books, I would say anywhere from 6 months, 6 to 9 months, being
Mhm,
consistent. And it doesn't take long. It's just formatting your outline. What story do you want to tell? And it depends. Are you writing nonfiction or are you writing fiction? So it depends on
mhm.
the genre that you want to write. That will determine, I guess, how long it will take for you to complete the project.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And I have
Okay.
to tell you, Tiffany, I will tell you, now that you told me that's what you want to do, I'm never gonna forget it. And I'm gonna like Hawk William and say, what did Tiffany write her book?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. I need it. Yes. I'll take that.
Yep. As a matter of
Um,
fact, I'm going to give you her number.
because
I
all of my
want
friends
to.
will tell you, I am an accountability partner. I am that person you want to be your accountability partner, because at the end of the day, I will drive you to do what you need to do. And then by this time next year, you'll be talking about your book that you wrote for your dog, about your dog.
Oh my gosh. Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
And what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass it on and bring to the set Robert, then back to Tiffany. Tanisha's trying to get in, so I'm going to step out of the studio for just for a minute or two to get with her. Robert, I want you to meet this amazing lady, Fatima Scipio, author, children's advocate, and just I can see she's bubbling in her spirit, and it transforms. When you speak to people, it's contagious. Thank you so much for your attitude, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you very much as well. And thank you for being on the show this evening. You can tell by the person's spirit and the way that they operate, as well as how they speak, how they carry themselves. It's also very important as well. So you say as you grew up in the Bronx, New York, from one Bronx site to another. I'm glad to have you on the show.
Yes,
Thank
and I
you.
see the Knicks hat.
Oh, of course. There's only one basketball team in town, so all you Nets fans out there, sorry I had to say it, but pretty much that you can always jump on the bandwagon, and also pretty much I'll say it doesn't matter if it's Ben Stiller, Phyllis Diller, or Reggie Miller. Nixon 5.
I love it.
So, all right. So, thank you for being here tonight. We had a chance to take a look at the front of your book, and definitely it is something that it is very inspiring. And you did mention the idea of making a book that basically helped to have people to take a look at themselves, especially from younger age.
Sure.
What experiences, say for instance, that came into that book, say from and did it tie into some of your experiences like growing up in New York?
That is such a great question. And yes, it did. As you know, growing up in the Bronx, and I would go to the Bronx Zoo. And when I would go to the Bronx Zoo, I would have cotton candy. And so a part of the book is talking about that, going to the circus and all those fun things that I used to run. We used to run through sprinklers in the Bronx. Sprinklers out, the fire hydrant would be turned on. So yes, my experience growing up in the Bronx, New York, definitely impacted the scheme and the themes of in the book. And when it comes to, again, little people, my career actually started as an educator working with my mother at a daycare center. So while the book is inspired by my niece, I've worked with little people all of my life practically. I would come home on college break and I would have a job waiting for me at a daycare center. And you just wouldn't believe how inspiring just that energy being around little people can give you, that excitement to just be young and just be fresh and new and renewed. It renews my energy when I think about it. Even now, when I go take my book to read in at schools, just the little people, they come up to me, they hug me, they say, "Oh, we love you," and I don't know them. And I'm talking about diverse groups of little people. They're so innocent. And so with the book, I just want to maintain that innocence, right? Because the world can be a little bit, it's wild, right? And so how do we empower these young people to continue to love themselves even as they get older? Because things start to change. You have social media that's impacting people's self-esteem because they care and want to be or feel validated by what's happening on social media. And so my hope through the book is to inspire little people everywhere, hundreds, thousands, millions, and that they will remember this book in their heart as they get older. And that this is a book, there are certain books that you have from your childhood. I don't know if you remember the books that you all had in your childhood, but mine's was Clifford the Big Red Dog. And I love that book for some reason. And so I hope that my book would be that book for another young person.
Excellent, excellent. And also, when you hit on a point, Fatima, when it came down to reading in front of students. I think that tends to be very lost nowadays. Or when you go into a library or say, for instance, bookstores, and yes, they still exist. You want to be able to have that time to sit in front and engage with the kids that you're doing and that which you're reading, and
Yes.
actually giving kids the opportunity to say, hey, I don't necessarily have to go through a tablet so much, or I have to be on a phone so much to open up my mind to an adventure and to be able to learn something about myself. So that was definitely something that we definitely need to continue to do more of.
Absolutely. And I would encourage you all, if you haven't, just take my book, find a school, and say you want to be a guest reader for the day. Self promotion. But yeah, Robert, and I have to tell you, Robert was my father's name, and Robert is my brother's name. So I'm never going to forget that name. Yes, very important name. And so I say all this to say, to just piggyback off of what you said, getting in front of young people and reading a book, it helps with brain development, language, because these are things that you can't get through a screen. You can't get these things. Engagement, human interaction. We don't want to lose that humanity. Although I love technology, we just don't want to lose that when it comes to our young people. And a lot of them they have no idea what it means to run and play outside. I know, and I don't know about where you all are from, but it's rare that you see little people playing outside anymore. And so going into those spaces where the little people are, and having that engagement is super important.
Totally.
And welcome to
Indeed.
Mm-mm-mm.
Thank you for that. And also, just as a reminder, at the end of our show, we just want to make sure that you get a chance to plug your book and definitely sell where we might be able to pick up that book as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, that's very important. And welcome to the set, our sister Tanisha Holmes. Hey, Tanisha.
Hey everyone, hola,
Oh,
hola.
¿cómo estás?
Está bien. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And meet the author of I Love Everything About Me, Fatima Scipio. Tanisha, this is a very inspiring lady. And I was listening to, while we were trying to get you connected, I was listening to the conversation. And you were talking about, Fatima, you were talking about how the children just love you. How much do you contribute that to your personality?
A lot. It comes from my training and working with these young people, as I shared earlier, working in daycare centers with my mother early on in my career. Young people, they don't want to be bored. They love excitement. And, when you work with them and maybe their behavior is not so desirable. So I would use that personality to kind of draw them in from whatever negative behavior they were displaying. And I'm very animated. So they love that. And so, yes, I attribute a lot of that to my personality.
Absolutely. You mentioned something earlier in the conversation that there were certain people that really don't know how to teach children of color. What did you mean by that?
Oh, gosh. So we could have a whole other subject about that one. But what I meant is that when you grow up in a space where culture is different from where some people may come from, and they don't recognize the culture, sometimes they make decisions based on their misinterpretation of culture. And so that's what I meant, meaning there are a lot of people, and some of the programs, and I'm talking over 20 years ago, I'm not sure what the education programs are doing now, but they weren't necessarily teaching cultural competency and what does it mean to go into an inner city, specifically a space like the Bronx, New York, which is like a melting pot for different cultures. And so that's what I meant by that. And there were a lot of educators at that time who would come up to me and say, and I had a number of boys in my class, and boys have a different type of energy, and you just have to know how to channel that energy, right? And so they would come up to me and say, well, why do your students listen to you, but they don't listen to me when I have the same students? And so I just had to educate them in that way. And I use my book as a tool to help educators like that. And it's, you can't help what you don't know. Right. You don't know what you don't know. Right. And so there are a lot of people who were coming into the Bronx who were teaching. I mean, they love the profession, but they didn't understand the culture of the Bronx.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really I think that's somewhat unfortunate. But like you said, this was also 20 years ago, but 20 years ago is not that long ago either. But I
Mhm.
think it's very important that when these teachers they decide to take on these jobs, especially going into the inner cities, like they know what the main demographic is. I think it behooves those individuals to like, okay, let me study, you
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? Let me watch a little bit to see how they would interact, you know what I'm saying? How these other teachers interact with them and whatnot. Because it's just like if we were to move to Spain and we don't know the main language there, that's on us. You know what I mean? That's on us if we were to get duped up out of our money or whatever the case may be, because we
Mhm.
didn't take the time to study beforehand. So I think it's wise for people to, when they get ready to go into these different cultural settings,
Mhm.
to study beforehand. You know what I mean? And make sure it's something you really want to do, not just
Mhm.
something that you have to do, because it will show. It will show. It will come out sooner or later. So yeah, I totally agree, and I'm thankful that you put that out there. I mean, every little bit of information would definitely help the people.
Absolutely. And it is my hope
Absolutely.
that education programs that are training and teaching will, and they may be doing it. I don't want to say that they're not, that they have and are doing and understanding the culture. And when I say culture, I'm not just talking about race and ethnicity. I'm talking about youth culture, because youth culture is a subculture that is so different. And if you don't stay in tune to what these young people are into and what they're talking about, you will be lost in the sauce, as they would, as we say, lost in the
Yeah.
source, because you have no idea, and then you lose them. And
Hmm.
how can education take place if you've lost the people you're supposed to be educating?
That's true. That is.
Absolutely. Tanisha?
So I did miss part of it. So I did look at your book, and is it like an educational book for kids below the age of 7 years old or something like that, or just for kids?
So I will
Right.
say, while it is geared towards preschoolers up
Okay.
to the fourth grade, I
Okay.
will
Fourth
tell
grade.
you that I've had parents buy the book for their 12-year-old,
Okay.
because
Got it. Okay.
it's a young character. The message is why the parents purchased the book.
The message. Okay. Because I know like young children are actually when they're growing up, and I guess you probably cater to a situation like you got Ken and Barbies or your dolls like that, and that's what they use to identify beauty or success or just acceptance in the society. So I was wondering if you run your if you kind of structure your book along the lines of that too as well, because I know like growing up as a kid, we kind of idolized Ken and Barbie, and then we had the Cabbage Patch doll, so forth, this Rainbow Bright, Strawberry Shortcake, and we looked at those things like that. I'm telling you my age, but if we look at those particular images or toys or things that we played with as kids to identify beauty, or that's what we associate beauty with, versus having dolls that have just a different variety where there's a different acceptance of all skin color, skin type, and different cultures and backgrounds. Because I wasn't exposed to that as a kid. It was just either black or white, no gray area. So I just was wondering if your book is kind of catered to something along the lines of that. Except I read over it briefly, but it didn't just kind of get some additional information on it.
And let me just so I had the Cabbage
Hmm.
Patch. So I maybe dated myself too. I had the
Hmm.
Cabbage Patch, the Rainbow Bright. I had Barbie, all those dolls. But I want to tell you that I grew up in a household where my great grandmother told me every day, or called me, "Hey, pretty girl." So I always knew that, or
Hmm.
always valued who I was. And
Hmm.
so I just, with the book, I didn't think about what you're asking. I just,
Hmm.
me. It's my niece. My niece is a
Hmm.
brown girl, and she has this big afro, and sometimes
Hmm.
it's straight and it's hard to manage. So I was just
Hmm.
thinking about her in that sense.
Hmm.
But I always grew up in a household where my self-esteem was
Okay.
nurtured, I should say.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's awesome. It's awesome. Cool. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. Thank
Now, you
you.
were
Yeah. Thanks for
talking,
your information.
I'm sorry, Tanisha, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay. No fun. Hmm.
No, no, no. No, it's not okay to cut you off. Okay. But anyway, let's get back to you. I'm going back to your attitude. There's a couple of things. And let's go back to the title. I
Mhm.
love everything about me.
Mhm.
And I remember growing up in the 60s, and when James Brown came out with that song, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, you know? And I love that. It was inspiring. And when you talk about I love everything about me, because a lot of children do not get that confirmation, they do not get that support. And
Mhm.
you remember two teachers growing, all of us, I'm sure we can attest to this. You remember two teachers throughout your school years. That was the mean one and was the fun one. And to me, like, if you are the type of, I understand being strict, but that sort of put up a blockade for children to learn. But if you've got that fun teacher, you want to hear what they have to say. They want to
Mhm.
engage with you. And you're telling them, hey, I appreciate and recognize you.
Mhm.
How does that play into what you do as an educator?
Oh wow. Everything, because when people feel empowered, when people feel inspired, if I talked, we're talking about little people, but I talk to everybody. I have books for women. I have the Big Bold Prayers book, so encouraging people to enhance their prayer life. So this messaging, yes, this book is for little people, but I have a message for their mamas. I have a message for their aunties and their grandmas. And so that is, it's all under the umbrella of encouragement. And I like to call myself the
Mhm.
encourager, because if you don't have someone as your personal, if you don't know how to be your personal cheerleader yet, this is what my products, my books are designed to do, to give you that boost, to start advocating for yourself, to start walking with your chest poked out and feeling good about yourself, so that when somebody tries to call you, let's say, the N word, or tell you something that is not who you are, you already know, like, that's not what God says about me. I am the apple of God's eye. And it's not arrogance. It's not,
No.
it's not conceit, but this is really what the word says. Like, we are the apple of God's eye. And if I can encourage the little people, their parents, and whoever's in their life to believe that all of the stuff that's outside, all that other outside noise, it has no impact. So you're putting up like shields around you when you have this
Hmm.
these words inside of you, because you can play it over in your head. And so with the children's book, that's why there's that rhyming scheme, because young people remember rhyming schemes and they are drawn to those rhyming schemes. But really, all of my books, all of my products are just to encourage people to not seek outside validation, because when you're seeking outside validation, you're prone to do anything because you feel like you have to do it to please somebody else.
Hmm. Hmm. I couldn't agree more. And you think about this, words, as a writer and an educator, words are powerful. And your material, it encouraged them. And that might be the first time they heard love, that you should love yourself. How much is that taught today? And that is vitally important. Words can build, they can also destroy, can't they?
They
And I
can.
think the children act up in many ways because they don't feel loved. They don't feel
Mhm.
appreciated. They don't feel noticed. So,
Mhm.
Robert, your mic is muted.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I just had to take care of some technical issues here, but yes, but that is important. Is in the aspect of kids need to be able to hear positive affirmation. They have to hear affirmations. They have to hear there are great people, that they are wise people, that they are rich people, that they are stupendous. Words that are actually going to uplift rather than put down. We have so many
Mhm.
people out here who are now just trying to cut each other, being a cutthroat society, and we don't need that anymore, especially if you have a kid, especially with children from ages 0 to 5, maybe even up to maybe about 8, because they are still developing
Yeah.
at that point. So they need to be able to have constructive love. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and I would add, Robert, that yeah, from 0 to 5, their brain, everything is still developing during that time period. But I would
That's right.
also tell your listeners that the brain is not even fully developed until about 25, 26. And people don't know that the frontal cortex is still developing. And so I know a lot of times we look at people, teenagers, and we think they should know better and they should, but their brain is still developing. So they don't know. And so us as a community, even if we see a teen or, a young adult doing things that we like, you're supposed to know better. No, we have to continue to educate them, continue to empower and inspire them. And that happens through our words. People don't know your words can bless or curse somebody. And
That's right.
you as an individual and young people, anybody should not let anyone speak any negative words over them. I don't, I will tell you a quick story. My son, he's 19 now, college student, who from the time he was a baby, I used to speak life to him when he was in my belly and came out. And I did it so much so that one day I said, his name is Jordan. I said, hit the road, Jack. He said, my name is not Jack, it's Jordan. But I empowered him so much to be strong and who he is that he didn't even allow me to. It's just a cliche, it's just a saying. But he shut me down immediately. Like, no, it's not Jack, it's Jordan. I said, okay. But that's something that I've been instilling in him. And I do recognize that every child doesn't have a parent or somebody doing that. But we do have community. And so that's why I'm encouraging people to get active in the schools. If you can be a guest reader or career day for the older students to kind of go out there, because they may not get to see role models. The role models that they do see are probably celebrities that they have never and probably will never meet ever in their lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Fatima, I want you to address something. Hey, my sister Emma Brown's, she said words and the way words are used are very, very dangerous. Can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit? Because we all know that words can start a war. Words can start a war, and words can also inspire. So can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes. And you're right. I mean, you can just look on the social media and the television, see how powerful words are and how people misinterpret what someone is saying. I mean, so many things get lost in translation. And so when I say words are very dangerous, just think about it. I'm just going to use even somebody being called the N-word. You call somebody the N-word, somebody's ready to take your head off, right? So that's
right.
dangerous, because now you may be the nicest person, but you're walking out and people are emboldened to call you the N-word. Now you're ready to fight. You're risking your well-being, going to prison because somebody used a dangerous word towards you and you're reacting towards that. That's powerful. And I'm saying that, yes, that word is horrible, but we should not let that word have power over us. And that's what I'm trying to say. And that's a dangerous word that I can use to say, because that really sparks a lot of energy.
That's well said. Well said. I'm going to say this, Dorothy. I remember a few years ago. Well, okay, I'm not going to lie on air. Okay, a while back, I was in the 5th grade, and the teacher. I used to talk a lot in class. Okay, and I had my good friend was Deborah. Debbie, we called her Debbie. She had long, silky black hair and just a really cute girl, right? And her and I, we were buddies, and we were in the back of the class just talking. And she called me up. She says, no. She said, hey, Debbie, I want you to move up to the front of the class with me. I don't want you sitting next to him anymore, because he will never be anything in life. This is my 5th grade teacher. That, I would be lying if I didn't say that didn't hurt. And it hurt so bad that I said, you know what? I'm going to prove her wrong. Now, it could have gone the other way, because there are other students that dropped out of her class. I'm not saying it was solely because of her, but teachers like that shouldn't be licensed to teach. You don't do that to any child, you see. And I remember years ago, and her name popped up in my head. I said, I need to get to work. I need to get to work. But you don't inspire people that way, because it could easily go in the opposite direction, you see. So we have to be very careful with words, and anyone with that type of attitude and mentality should never, ever teach anyone. Tanisha?
I also experienced something like that before too. Actually, my guidance counselor, I think in 10th grade, I think I went and saw the guidance counselor. Last name was Miss Taylor. I remember her name. And she said something similar to that too, along the lines, but not necessarily wouldn't amount to anything. But she's basically saying to me, like, I told her I wanted to go to school and be a physician or a doctor, an attorney. And she's like, well, I don't think you're capable of doing that at that time. Not knowing that I didn't accomplish just about anything. You know, I've got accepted in law school, PA school, you know, different schools. But I chose theology because I like to learn about God. So your words are very, very powerful, and it can make a difference, and it can shape you. So I know what you're talking about. And as far as like the words and the voices in the back of your mind is that pushes you to go forward, because it actually is and sometimes those words can make or break you, like you said, but they also can motivate you to strive even farther. And I think that has a lot to do with me too, as well. And with you too, William, it's fuel. And also what you're saying too, Fatima, as far as like your words do matter, because we are spoken words. That's what we are, the spoken words of God. So, and there's power within words too. And you're also talking about Psalms 139. We are beautifully made. That's what you're talking about too, as well. So those are things that I've been working with myself and speaking those things too, because your words, people's words can try to destroy and diminish your you know, how you feel about yourself, your self-esteem, so forth and so on. So I appreciate you. I appreciate this information that you're putting out there for everyone to be able to explore, even for the adults that are not, you know, way older than 14, 15, 16 years old. It helps people that are a lot older, but I do understand what the power of words. God talks about this also in the book of James too, talking about our tongues too. So I appreciate it.
And you know, I just hear stories about educators. No problem. I've heard those stories so many times. I can't even count on my hands. And I would say that anyone who is speaking to a student in that manner and trying to diminish and take out their light, they have their own issues going on, which is why they kind of try to put that on you and try to diminish your spirit, because they do see the light in you. They do see the greatness in you. And so they want to diminish that light and dim that light, which is why it's so important for us to arm ourselves and know who we are and whose we are, so that when those words, those darts try to come, we like, you do karate, like
Ephesians.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And you know, something else, Fatima. Another thing, be careful if you are an author, or there's something that you want to thrive to accomplish or something like that, be careful who you share your ideas with. I tell you what else is destructive. If someone come to you and say, look, I would like to do this. Oh no, that'll never work. That'll never work. You have to understand, you may have discouraged that next doctor. You may have discouraged that next educator, or that other person that wants to go into something, that next writer or whatever it is. And so I think as human beings, we need to take responsibility and be careful what we say to someone, because if they have an idea, remember, that's their idea and it's their life, and they have every right to explore that. So when you go out, I want to ask this: when you go out and you now you talk about, say, for instance, we might take your book and go out and ask if we can be a guest reader one day. I'm sure you've done that in schools. What was the thrill behind doing that? And talk a little bit about the energy that happened while you were performing.
Oh my, I'm glad you said performing, because it does feel like a performance when I do go into the school system. But so I get invited. So I have a lot of educators who reach out to me, and especially during Read Across America week, which happens in March every year. They used to call it Dr. Seuss week. I'm not sure if they're still calling it that, but when I go in, I mean, I'm performing. I have my hat, I have my T-shirt. And I will tell you, I have a song that goes with the book, and it will be recorded. This is like hot off the press, right? So I do have a song that will be coming out. I'm going to be recording it over the summer to go with the book, because I do go there, and I wish I could play the guitar. See, that's the one thing I can't do. But if I played the guitar, I would have the whole package. But the energy starts because, again, as I said, I'm very animated. So I'm acting out the words in a book. And so it get some teachers, they're like, oh my gosh, my class, but I know how to manage a classroom because I have that background experience.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go in, I just tell the educators, don't worry, have a seat. I got this. Don't worry about it. So the kids are, they're jumping all over the place. And I'm like, sway, sway, sway. And they're doing all that fun stuff. But the energy is always high and it's always exciting. And when I leave, when I walk out of the door, everybody is smiling. The teachers are saying, wow, she, and I'm not tooting my own. I am tooting my own horn. It's okay to pat yourself on the back. It's okay
Please
to
do.
do that. So, but the teachers often tell everyone, she was a great guest reader. We would love to have her come back. And so that's what the energy is all about. And I love it. I love it.
That's outstanding. I love it too. I love it too. Robert?
Absolutely. Fun times all around. So with the first book that you have now, when is the second book coming out?
For children. So remember, I already have 4. So are you asking when the next book coming out or
Number 5?
Wow, that's a good question because right now I'm working on, so I aspire to write a short film. So that's pretty much taking up my time. And so I'll have to come back when Tanisha said, hey girl, I will come back when I do get the short film, when it's ready for release and all that. It's something that I'm going to be doing independently. And so the 5th book, I can tell you the title of it, but it's not going to come out until after I complete the film. And it's called Bruh.
Amazing.
Nice.
It's really a book to inspire young men. It's a book to inspire young men. I often get questions about, you always doing all this stuff for girls and women. You have a son. Yes, I do. And I'm sorry. Because I don't have a daughter, I'm kind of drawn to doing stuff for little girls. But it will be called Bruh. And so, Robert, I will make sure that you all get that book and I'll come back again.
Thank you.
Tiffany?
My question is, because you did mention that you do have other books, what are the titles of those other books? Can you speak on those?
Yes. So, as I shared, the first aid for first year teachers, that's for educators. And that book, although it was released in 2004, but it's still relevant because it's teaching educators, first year teachers, people who have young people who have never stepped foot in the classroom, how to engage their students. So that's that book. And then it's Boss Lady was my second book. Boss Lady, 7 Life Principles to Reign in the New Economy is all about helping. So I will tell you with that book, I thought that I was going to write a book about entrepreneurship. But God said, no, how can you teach my people about entrepreneurship when they don't have the right mindset? So, Boss Lady is all about renewing your mindset and kind of gearing yourself up for whatever it is that you aspire to do. And then the little book of Big Bold Prayers is really diving into, because like I said, I cannot do anything before I do anything. I pray. I am a prayer warrior. My friends know I'm a prayer warrior. I'm the person that they call when they need prayer or something's going on. And I am proud of that. And I wanted to inspire people to take their prayer life seriously and be bold when they go before the throne, because that's what you need to be. Like, especially in these times, you have to be bold and you have to have the word behind you. And so that's what that book is all about.
Awesome, man. This is so good tonight. Oh my gosh, this conversation is so good.
This is
When
so
y'all
good.
was talking about earlier when Tanisha was talking and we was talking about life and death is in the power of the tongue. That was another scripture that came to my mind. Like what Tanisha said, that we are spoken words, because whatever you say, whether you say I'm broke, whether you say I'm sick, I tell my mom all the time, I was like, I said, don't say that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Or she'd say, I ain't got no money. Just say, I don't have any cash right now. You know what I mean? Just say it's in reserves. So people, we have to be able to rewire our mindset, so renew our mind on a daily basis. We have to be able to renew our mind because we're so accustomed to having said things for, a long period of time. And
Mhm.
even though it kind of, all of this kind of reverts back to your book, I
Mhm.
love everything about me. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I just love how all of this just kind of
Mhm.
really ties in together because, once you start speaking these positive words, these words of affirmations, it will ultimately then help you to love everything about yourself. You know what I mean? Because you're able to see yourself in a different light, in a different perspective. And even though these are for, as you say, the little kids, the little people, I love that term, little people. That this could really be for anybody. And this is so good to me. I do have a shout out here. um Rock said Latanya and her and all of y'all cousins, they are listening and they want you to know that they are very proud of you. So I have a little shout out from them.
Thank you. Hey, cousins.
Outstanding.
Love you.
Okay, and hey, cousins, and our audience out there. Hey, if you love this, what we're doing right now, please drop a like and a comment in the. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn. We're also on Alexa. If you have an Apple device, just go to Studio. Go to your Apple App Store and download Studio W. And always the website. Please go to the website studiow.buzz. Studiow.buzz. Subscribe, leave a like there, and give us some feedback on this program. I love this program because this is what we do here. We uplift, we inspire, we motivate, and you're the perfect guest to have on tonight. Tanisha.
I remember you mentioned something about one of your book titles, something prayers in the boat or something like that. Is that correct?
The little book of big, bold prayers.
Big bold prayers.
Yes.
Okay. I thought you were talking about like a boat. I didn't hear that part. Okay. Big bold prayers. So is it like big bold prayers, like the little kids praying that are boldly and praying and just having a lot of faith, or just like what is the context of that?
No, it's big, bold prayers, going through Psalms and saying, how are you going to use this word?
Okay.
And just using the word and
Okay.
speaking those words and being bold about it. So, for example,
Okay.
when Tiffany was talking about, I guess someone saying, "Oh, I don't have any money right now." Well,
Mhm.
don't say, don't say that. Say, I'm out of cash. I would say, I'm temporarily out of cash right now, but God's grace, God is going to provide all my needs according to His riches and glory in Christ Jesus. So, knowing that is what
Mhm.
that Big Bold book is all about. People,
Mhm. Mhm.
it doesn't make me feel good to say this, but people are not picking up their Bibles anymore. Okay. People are not doing that. And so with my prayer book, I just pulled out the scriptures, talked about it, give people a prayer to say, because they're just not doing that. And there's young people who just don't even know what a Bible look like. Everybody's on their phones with stuff.
Mhm.
How many people actually physically have a Bible anymore?
Mhm.
So that's what that's all about, Tanisha.
Okay, I got it. That's excellent. I like that. Speak with boldness. I
Yeah.
like that. It's wonderful. Okay, I'll have to look into that too as well.
Oh yes,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yeah.
Fatima, let's talk about the meaning, or how much does the title of your book uh, inspire and sort of maybe inspire you to continue to write and also feed into your writing, because you think about, I love everything about me. I said, wow, I love this title. Okay, this is before I learned any more about you. The title, how
Mhm.
important is the title?
The
I just want
title
to
is
get in there.
everything to me. I cannot do anything before I write. The title comes first, and that's my writing process. Other people have a different. My writing
Mhm.
process is the title is first, and the title builds around what I'm going to be talking about. So it plays a huge role in what the message is. The message, the title is what I want you to walk away with. The title is what I want to play over and over in your head. And so it's very, very important. And Tiffany, I know you're going to be writing your story with your story, and your process may be very different. But for me, the title comes first, and then I do my outline for what I want to talk about in the and that's for the older book. For the
Mhm.
children's book, that it doesn't have any chapters or anything like that, but the title is everything. And if for anybody who is aspiring to write a book, just know we all have stories to tell. And you know,
Hmm.
I would encourage you to do it. You don't need much to do it, in terms of, you don't have to go the traditional publishing route. You know it. You can go on, you know, Kindle publishing through Amazon and publish your own book, but do something that's going to inspire people. You know, your story, how you
Hmm.
came through, can inspire somebody. And however you want to title is up to you, but make sure that it's impactful. A title should be impactful to
Absolutely.
the reader.
I couldn't agree more. I recall, going to the library. I haven't been into the library in a while, but going to the library and you just go in and you look at the titles of books. You say, "Oh, that sounds interesting," because that's the first thing you see: the
Hmm.
cover, the title, you know.
Hmm.
And then I noticed how the colors that you use in that book as well. Let's talk
Hmm.
about that a little bit. Like
So
you got the
I
title,
feel like,
you got the
yeah,
colors.
I'm very colorful, bright, but I cannot take credit for that. I have an amazing illustrator who was also hired through my publishing house. Her name is Paige Mason. She's out of California, and she's very talented. She's an educator. I think, yeah, I believe she studied fine arts as well. But she heard she read the words of my book, and those colors came to her. This is exactly what she shared with me. She read the book, and those colors are what jumped out to her. And so I'm so grateful to her, because she captured my words in a way that if I could draw, if I could illustrate, that's exactly how I would have illustrated the book.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. And have you had, and I'm sure it has, but how many times has a child come to you maybe later and says, "You know what? I read your book. I love your book. I loved you being with us today," or "Oh, I met you a few years ago and inspired me to do this, that, or the other." I'm
Oh,
sure that's
often.
happened.
Oh, often. I have so I have what I call my book and the little people book ambassadors. So these are the little people who maybe their parent they purchased a book for them, and then now they took it to school for a show and tell day, and now they're telling their friends, "Oh, this is you should buy this book." So I get these messages from the parents that tell me, "Oh, my child went to school and they're selling your book because they're telling everyone about it." So there, yes, I get that a lot. And in terms of other people coming to me saying how they've been inspired, I have a nonprofit called Young Enterprising Leaders. And while we are now a online platform that shares information and resources for young people, few years ago in 2011, when we first started, we would have conferences and we would have guest speakers come to teach young girls how to start their own businesses and just to be successful and productive citizens. And we used to, this was all prior to the pandemic. And, since then we haven't done that. But now I have these are like young women who have their own businesses. They are college educated. They are thriving. And I am still in touch with them. And they, we stay in touch on social media. And they often talk about how my programming, along with my board members, I can't forget them, have impacted their lives. I have students that I used to teach in the Bronx, New York, that I'm friends with on social media now, and they've grown. I haven't grown. I still look the same. But they often talk about how I have impact. And so I always say to anybody, if I've inspired one person, then I've done my job.
Right.
Hmm.
That's good.
Absolutely incredible. I tell you, each and every week, I'm inspired by the feedback we get from this podcast. You know, and that inspires me, and it makes a difference. They say, "Oh, this was a great show. And this was it," and we have to talk. Our communications and production manager, Rock. And she said, "Oh, what a great show." And I said, "Wow, okay, well, cool." And that keeps us going. That's the fuel that I think all of us need to go to get that feedback, because I have wonderful panelists, as you can see, and we have a few others that's out tonight. Nakaya, she's out on assignment. Uh, Clayton is out on assignment. And what you see, Robert, you see Tanisha, you see Tiffany. And we've done, what is episode is this, Robert? Is this 67? I'm not sure
Oh,
exactly how many.
I just want to mention to everybody, thank you for tuning in to episode 68 of Ruth Written Speak.
68.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. Oh, Tiffany said, I'm gonna put you on blast, Tiffany. She put in the private chat that she wants you to keep her accountable.
I got it.
That's
I
her phone.
will. I got you, Tiffany. I got
I love you.
I got you.
Okay. And then how absolutely. And let's talk about this. Okay. You can find I Love Everything About Me in hardcover, ebook, and audio book. That's pretty cool. That is very, very cool with 5 books. And you and I, we're not going to talk about it right now unless you want to, but there's something that you and I are going, we're going to talk about something that you asked me off air about another project that I think that you're motivated to do. So we'll talk about it a little bit. Okay. But
Yeah.
anyway, Tanisha, anything? I can't believe we have 4 minutes left to go. Tanisha, what do you have?
I just want to say thank you. I feel so inspired. I just keep up the good work for the youth. I mean, they really need this to be able to shape them as adults and have a positive self-image of themselves too, as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Tiffany?
Oh, again, I enjoyed this conversation. I really do believe like this is another moment that God is like, hey, I'm sending you another nugget here. Like, hey, you need to start doing something.
Okay.
So yes, I did send you my information. So please, don't be afraid to reach out. Be like, hey, I just want to check on you. Please do that, please.
I sure will. Now don't come back on the radio talking about me like, oh Lord, she getting on my nerves. She keep asking me. No, I got you.
I need it. Thank
you. You're welcome.
Robert?
Absolutely. Thank you again, Fatima, for being on the show tonight. And kids out there, just realize that you are your biggest cheerleader. You are your biggest supporter. Just make sure that and it's also an old African proverb, if I'm not mistaken. If there is no enemy within, the enemy without can do you no harm.
That's
So
true.
make sure you treat yourself well.
That's right. That's right.
And I'm going to ask that our audience, you guys have kids or you know kids or you have grandchildren or whatever it is, please share this broadcast with them. Now, there are several ways you can do it. It's on Facebook, obviously, but you can also go to YouTube. It's being recorded on YouTube right now, and it's Studio W The Buzz. Studio W The Buzz. I invite you to share this. Share this with your friends. So again, go to the website, studiow.buzz. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, and we really, really appreciate you. We have a few minutes left. Fatima. And so what I'd like for you to do, if you will, anything that you want to say in closing.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for having me. I really enjoyed the panel. Everyone, speaking to everyone, you all have your different style. I just love it. I love that you are offering this platform to educate people with different guest speakers. I think that's so important. I think we need more of that. So I appreciate you. I would encourage anyone who is listening. So while William talked about sharing this with your children, I would say share it with children that you don't know, because you don't know if they have access to this platform or know someone who could send them this link. So and go be a guest reader. Go get my book and go be a guest reader in the school and share with everyone, because again, the message and is all the same, in that we all want, all of us, including this platform, we want to inspire and empower people. So thank you for the opportunity to do so tonight.
Oh, absolutely. And everyone, I love everything about me in hardcover, ebook, audio. Now, can they also find it on Amazon and any other outlets?
Yes, anywhere books are sold.
Okay.
Anyway, so love it, love it, love it. Fatima, this has been outstanding. I can't thank you enough, and we will have you back. That's a given. Okay, you've inspired all of us to say, okay, well, let me go and get that book off the shelf, Tiffany. That book I'm working on, Tiffany.
Listen.
And not only that, and you might have aspirations to do something else, and because it's all inspirational, Folks,
Mhm.
I love everything about me by Fatima Scipio. Thank you, Fatima. Hey,
Thank
guys,
you.
thank you much for your time. It's been outstanding. And I'm just going to go and play some music right now. I'll be
Thank
on
you.
live tomorrow night. I'm streaming music. Oh, by the way, Fatima can also sing.
Oh no, I don't.
Yep,
Don't
I
let her tell
heard
you
her
that.
sing.
Wow.
That is
Okay.
not
Wait a minute now. Wait a
I'm
minute
very
now.
honest about what I can do, and singing is not one of them. I can.
Let me hear. Let me hear you. I'm working on a track. Let me hear what you can do.
I wanna
No,
dance
don't put on the spotlight.
with
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Well,
Sounds
you were singing to Whitney Houston yesterday.
Oh, that's
Singing.
it was Whitney Houston, who I absolutely love, and he said, "I hear you singing." I'm like, I can't, but I don't
Well,
back
you
down
sound
from
pretty
reality.
good. No, don't underestimate yourself. No, you sound
That's
pretty
right.
good. All right.
That sounds wonderful.
Hey,